everybody. Welcome back to the Coleman's Theatre at the Rotary Arts Center in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. My name is Allie, and I am joined today by a very special guest, Nigel Jenkins.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, Nigel. So Nigel has been up to a lot of stuff involved in sort of the music and arts community over the past few years. Maybe most notably, you've founded Laughing Hearts Music, and that's branched off. There's a publishing corner and a label as well.
That's right.
You're also the chair of the board for MusicNL.
That's right.
Yep, and you sort of have a history of law and entertainment law as well that you've sort of pivoted into this role as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're also a musician from Newfoundland.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd call myself a musician as much these days. The guitar is more like a prop in the corner that my son Noah strums on from time to time. You know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely have some background. We have some shared background in music.
We have some shared background. Nigel and I were in a band together in St. John's in maybe 2010 that started, 2009?
Yeah, I think it was 08, 09, because I went to Dal for law school in September of 2010. So maybe it was 09, 010, or 010, 09, 10.
I think so, because I remember, I think I went from not being legal drinking age to being legal drinking age
right, actually.
within the band.
I remember that.
Yeah, because we were like, I just moved to St. John's. Nigel was living there for school, and a couple of other friends as well. Gerald Coleman from the West Coast as well, and then originally, I guess, Brad Nichols,
who sort of unrelated, but when I moved back to Steadybrook in 2018, Stephanie and I rented from Brad's parents.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they at that time owned a condo in Steadybrook, and we rented from them for a little while.
Nice.
Yeah, didn't put it together until afterwards. I was like dropping stuff off at their house for them in St. John's.
You look like Brad.
This is Brad Nichols' house.
Whoa, that's so. I didn't even realize Brad was from there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So it was called Sayfire, yeah, really sort of an odd, sort of random West Coast band that just sort of originated on the East Coast. Super fun, and yeah, I think it was around that time because I remember us getting shows and then me sort of having to not be allowed to be in the bar, and then suddenly I was allowed in the bar, and it was a lot more.
Did you have to get like a note from your parents or something to play at that age?
They give me a bracelet, and then I wasn't allowed to drink. I think was sort of it didn't even happen. You know, some of the shows we played, it wasn't that kind of a thing. Like I won't name bar names, but some of them were a lot more lenient than others. But yeah, you were ripping on the guitar at the time,
back in the day.
Yeah, it was great, and you've really kind of taken this really interesting direction where you've sort of melded together the arts and music specifically with business and sort of an entrepreneurship. So great work. That's super cool. I'd love to hear about sort of, I read the CBC article where about your pivot and sort of the dramatic kind of. So if would you just kind of tell us a little bit about that? And cool.
Yeah, for sure. So graduated from MUN in 2010 with an English degree and didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do with my life at that point. My grandfather had been a judge, and I knew I liked reading and was a confident public speaker, and that lawyers had made good, stable money, so I thought, I'll go be a lawyer, and maybe I could do family law or entertainment law. And anyway, I got out. I got called to the bar, first here in Newfoundland, and then in Nova Scotia. Practiced in Nova Scotia for a little while, and it really wasn't for me, and sort of took a physical toll to the point where I had to exit the practice of law. And so I was living in Halifax at the time, and unemployed, and Ben Kaplan, who I knew through Taryn Kawaja, another West Coaster, was going on I think it was his first headline tour of the States, and he needed a tour manager. And he knew I was, probably at least a little bit smart and responsible, and that I was available. So I went on that tour with Ben as his tour manager. It started in New York City, and we went as far south as Austin, Texas for South by Southwest.
Cool. Well,
Yeah, and then
it's a big.
It was, yeah, it was a long tour. It was like a month and a half on the road with Jamie Cronick. I don't know if you know Jamie at all. He's a drummer, was living in Ottawa, but is in Halifax now.
Yeah, was Taryn in the project at that time as well?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, for sure.
Nice. It's kind of trial by fire. You're just in it.
Yeah.
Month,
Yeah, and I got back, and the East Coast Music Awards were happening in St. John's that year, so it was 2015. So I flew myself at St. John's from Deer Lake and volunteered in the export buyers room at the ECMAs.
Oh, cool.
And used that opportunity to meet a bunch of folks and told them that, you know, I was a lawyer and that I had just been on this tour with Ben Kaplan and I was looking to start working in the music industry. And got a couple of internships that way and some contracts with other artist management companies and record labels in Halifax.
Cool.
And from there, basically started my own company. So it was like a year, not quite a year after I had tour managed Ben, he was looking for a new artist manager and wanted me to take him on in that capacity. So Ben was my first artist management client.
Cool.
And I also took on a band called Hillsburn from Halifax, Nova Scotia. So that was like the foundation of the company, which started with a focus on artist management, and I was still doing some entertainment law at the time. But it very quickly moved into sort of the label side of things. I had a partnership with Select Distribution, which was a division of Quebecor Media in Montreal. And I do music publishing, so it's a lot of sync pitching and pub administration, mostly through a platform called Song Trust.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's song publishing, from my understanding, and correct me if because I'm not, I only know a little bit about it, but I think it's when artists sort of bring their songs forth for potential commercials, TV shows, movies. Like it's having when you hear a song in a movie, that song has been published for that film. Is that?
Yeah. So so synchronization licensing is licensing audio works, music for synchronization with visuals.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why I call it sync, because you sync the audio with the video.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool.
And I don't know if, like, for the purpose of this chat, it's worth diving into, but like typically, the way those fees are paid out is there's a fee for the master rights side, so the recording, and then a fee paid for the publishing side, and those are usually equal.
Right.
So if you get like $1,000 sync fee, the way that breaks out is $500 goes to the master side, $500 to publishing.
Right. Okay. Cool. So you've really sort of you really dove in. You sort of took on some internships, and you just started learning a lot about these overlaps between music and business, right? And and it seems like you sort of came to a lot of that information on your own accord. Like there's no degree that will teach you about like all those things at once and how to navigate them. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was in Halifax, Nova Scotia Community College has a great one-year music industry program.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That I did some talking to. What am I trying to say? I went in and did presentations for the students and did some mentorships, and so there are programs out there for sure. But in terms of my own education and approach to it, yeah, it was more, I had my legal background, I had some experience as a musician, artist myself, and then I kind of just dove into the industry and figured it out as I went.
Cool, that's awesome. And now you've got a pretty big group of artists that you're working with. I know that some of them are going to be playing here soon. Kim Harris, Hillsburn as well, I think. Yeah, do you want to just speak a little bit to sort of how you've amassed these artists and who they are, and maybe for anyone listening in Newfoundland, you know, ways that they might be able to see some of these artists or...
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 3 shows coming up at the Rotary Arts Center in March.
Cool.
It's Rube Rake first from St. John's, folk duo.
And you represent them as well. Yeah, cool, that's awesome.
And Kim Harris and Hillsburn from Halifax are coming as well. Kim's originally from Corner Brook, though. You probably know.
I super met Kim at Longavanga this year, and it was so sweet. She was like, I've needed to meet. Like, we had this really beautiful, and I was like, oh my God, because I actually hadn't really fully remembered that connection.
Right.
I was just going to see her play because she's such a great performer.
She is, yeah.
So when she came up to me and was like, I was like, Oh, wow.
That's
That's nice. Yeah, she's really cool.
I would have guessed that you two would get along.
Yeah, yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah. In terms of like how I've gotten involved with the artists I work with, you know, with the Ben thing kind of happened naturally, organically through a personal relationship, knowing Taryn. Hillsburn I got to know through one of the sort of contract internship type positions that I did, and when I left to start my own business, they sort of left the company that they had been with and came with me.
Right.
Yeah, and then other folks I've signed along the way. Kim was someone I knew for a lot of years. Like there's old CBC East Coast Music Hour footage of like me attending a show of hers in the audience because I was just a fan back then and really wanted to work with her, and we had the chance to start working together and put out her album in 2020 called Heirloom, which did really well on a lot of fronts. Yeah, and there's a ton of folks. So since starting the label, my sort of approach has been more towards signing folks for, you know, EP and album deals, and then using those projects to explore whether an artist management relationship could be possible with that act.
For sure.
Because it's a much more involved and intimate and long-term relationship to be involved in an artist management capacity.
For sure. Yeah.
Whereas the label side, you know, you can do a project and it has a start and an end point, and if it goes well, that's wonderful, and you continue to work together, and that's mostly what's happened. But if not, there's an opportunity to reassess and go your separate ways if that's how
like
folks are
marrying
feeling.
the
No,
person.
but artist management is like getting
Yeah,
married.
you kind of are getting married, yeah.
And it's really intense, and it can be extremely emotional. You mentioned the CBC chat I had with Lynette Adams, so I think I talked to her in that about being in like living out of the back of my van this one summer, and I was at a KOA campground outside of Quebec City because I was there for Festival d'été de Québec, and there had been some booking mess up, and I was feeling so guilty about it. I was just like crying in the back of my van in Quebec all alone. So like it can be that, right? So I've just, the more I've been at it, the more not cautiously, that's not the right word, but the more intentionally I approach the artist management side of stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's sort of maybe sort of in some ways like being in an artistic project with someone or in a band. There aren't really books written about the sort of politics or the interpersonal importance within those projects. Like I think sort of working with artists and working in an artistic group forces people to approach the group as if it's, you know, like a family or it's very intimate. And there's, especially with artists, you know, in music, there's so much vulnerability to sharing those songs. And so it makes a lot of sense to me that you're doing this because not only are you, you know, very business savvy and smart, but I feel like you're a sensitive person as well. So I know you've been nominated for a few awards with MusicNL and the ECMAs, correct?
Yeah, I've had a few nominations over the years with MusicNL, the ECMAs, Music Nova Scotia back when I was there. I've never won anything.
But that's really cool. And when I saw that, I was like, of course, it makes so much sense. Do you feel like I know you mentioned the guitar kind of being in the corner and your kid is playing it right now, but not right now, but generally.
He might be.
In this very moment. He could be.
He could be, yeah.
But
He should be napping. Sorry.
How do you feel like your experience as a musician and your history sort of has informed the path you've taken to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing music from a very young age, started on the piano. I had to get to a certain level at piano, I forget what it was, before my parents would let me switch to the guitar, because I always wanted to play the guitar, but they
It's a good bargaining tactic.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and I you know, good on my mom and dad, because they both love music, but neither one of them plays. But I think they knew, or they gathered, that if I had a foundation on the piano, that theory would translate to whatever else I did, you know what I mean? So they wanted me to have that theory foundation.
For sure, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and then from a very young age, started playing in bands. So even like as soon as I moved to Corner Brook back in 2001, 8th grade for me, met Cameron Lawrence, who we both know and was in bands with Cameron and Carrie Martin, Dane Kawaja from a very young age, all the way through high school. It was, it was a big important part of my life and my identity for a lot of time.
Sure.
And that love of music and wanting to be involved with creative people and sensitive, empathetic people and artists sort of translated once I had my legal training, my business training. I realized at a certain point that I didn't want to pursue arts myself. I didn't want that to be my career, but I wanted to be involved in the arts.
Totally.
And so being able to act in a supporting role where my legal knowledge, my communication skills, my writing skills can help to support other people who, frankly, are just all better at art than I ever was anyway, is just as rewarding for me as the making of art was back in the day, or the performing, which I loved and may go back to at some point. But having observed the lifestyle of artists now, it's like I know how much work goes into making a career in music, and in particular work, and how much touring you have to do, and how many showcases and festivals you have to play, and how much time on the road it is, and time away from home. And in my role, I've been able to build a life for myself that I can spend more time at home with my family, immediate family, my wife and my son, and so yeah, it's just like I've been lucky enough to be able to grow up and do things that match my changing value system.
That's
right?
Yeah, that's great, and
Yeah.
sort of a value system that's sort of built upon with experience and getting to know yourself as well. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think you're the perfect person to sort of combine those skill sets. I noticed just sort of in lieu of you discussing the difficult life of the musician, I read in your interview with Lynette that you were saying how artists, Spotify is not like the way for artists to kind of make money or establish themselves. Do you have maybe like one piece of advice for emerging artists, especially just with your specific knowledge of being on the west coast of Newfoundland, where we
Sure.
are isolated, but there is a very special sort of cultural association? Do you have any advice for artists who might be looking to sort of break through a little bit?
Yeah, so in that chat with Lynette, like I don't know if I came across as clearly as I would have liked to. I think what I was trying to get at is the digital royalties, the streaming revenues, digital sales, like those tend not to make up the bulk of the revenue that we're generating from recorded music or from other activities. So in the, say, 4 or 5 years that I've been running the label side of things, the percentage of the company's revenues that comes from the digital space, it might be 1 to 3% of the company's revenues per year. It's super low.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So we do, like, we sell physical copies through the LHM Records website. So you can buy vinyl, you can buy CDs, you can buy digital downloads, and like there's money that comes in that way. But the bigger sources of revenue, at least for the artists that I work with and for my company, have tended to come from neighboring rights royalties collected via Sound Exchange, and from the sync licensing fees.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So, a lot of our focus is on finding ways to maximize those revenue streams, and then obviously on top of those, in normal times, performance fees are a huge part of any artist's career and business. And the grant funding helps to support everything too. That's another big one.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Factor and MusicNL and ArtsNL and
Yeah.
all those sort of.
You were asking about how an artist can break through, though, or what they can do to sort of level up. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a sort of an open-ended question. Maybe it's even as broad as knowing what you know about the industry. What's something you might impart to an artist, like if they're starting out or they're here and they're sort of thinking, well, I want to do this. I don't really totally know how.
Yeah, and this probably doesn't answer the question directly, but
That's okay.
like one of the things I think we've done well with the folks I work with and represent is identifying where there are opportunities for them. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's different artist to artist. So
Absolutely.
some folks do really well on Spotify, and they get a lot of big playlists and millions of streams, and money comes in that way, and that's wonderful. For other artists, you know, CBC Radio 3 play has a really big impact on their bottom line. So Radio 3, there's a channel on Sirius Satellite Radio, which you can access in the States, which generates the neighboring rights royalties, and that's where all that money comes from,
Yeah.
which is great.
Right.
Other artists, you know, the live performance aspect is the bulk of it. For other folks, you know, they're going to grow. I just think about folks who do really well on Twitch or TikTok or
Yeah,
you know, the various social media platforms that are out there. It's about finding what works for you and then focusing your energies there, rather than, I think, trying to take on every opportunity or avenue, because there's so many, and you just can't manage them all on your own, and nor are they necessarily going to be a fit for what you're doing.
Absolutely. No, that's a great answer, I think, because of course, yeah, it really depends on sort of I mean, I think the biggest thing that, which sort of relates to this, that I learned when I was younger with music is that, like, grants happen, you know, and they really happen here.
Yep.
I think that, you know, before artists do sort of get grants or before they apply for them, sometimes it seems like this really distant, difficult thing, but we are very lucky here to have sort of a couple of different granting agencies that offer support, not only with, you know, financial support to artists who have applied, but also a lot of support with the process of applying as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Can you speak just a little bit to your role as the chair of the board of MusicNL and sort of how that sort of copacetically aligns with the other stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, the role as chair is a fairly new one for me as of the AGM, which happened late last year. I've been on the board since February of 2021 and was sort of studying under Amy House, who was the outgoing chair.
Yeah, right, cool.
So I've chaired one meeting to date. But no, I've really, really loved my work and the time that's been spent with MusicNL. It's outside of, you know, my own operations, that's probably been my most rewarding role and work in the industry so far, because I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I actually have, you know, insight and suggestions to be able to offer that are meaningful to the organization as it grows under the direction of Rhonda, who's the current executive director, and Dave, who's core staff member as well.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, Rhonda Tolklane, Dave Shears, they've done an excellent job sort of, you know, steering the ship at MusicNL, and there's lots of really exciting stuff happening in terms of new programs that are going to be rolled out, and they're taking a really great approach to expanding sort of MusicNL's reach throughout the province. You know, that's a really important role we see for ourselves moving forward, is to be a truly provincial organization. I think that's been one of the criticisms of MusicNL historically, is that it's, you know, St. John's
centric, yeah,
which you know, that happens with music industry associations in Atlantic Canada in particular. I think Music Nova Scotia in Halifax faces some of the same criticisms.
Absolutely.
From time to time, but you know, Rhonda and the board have put together a strategic plan for the next, I think it's the next 5 years we've got sort of figured out.
Cool.
That is really exciting, yeah, and has just done so much great community outreach and relationship development and so much diversity, equity, and inclusion work. It's the organization is headed in a really positive direction, and I was talking to Rhonda yesterday, and I told her, you know, I just feel really lucky to be able to observe her as a leader, because I think she's so solid and has done and is going to do so much good work for the organization and just the industry in the province.
Totally. Oh man, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
That kind of actually transitions very well into one of my last questions for you.
Segue.
Yeah, nice. You've been trained. Just kidding. No, I was just gonna ask you, like, yeah, I've sort of noticed this this bridging between the East and the West Coast with arts that maybe, I mean, I only moved back here just over a year ago, so I don't really know how it was looking kind of before that, and also COVID has made things really difficult. But I know that like Longyearbyen, for example, has tried to do a lot of stuff that sort of crosses the coasts, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, it seems like lots of arts organizations and granting agencies are trying to sort of look at Newfoundland in this, like you said, more provincial way that's less centric to the city. What do you see sort of in light of that, in light of, you know, all of the difficulties with COVID? Do you have any sort of ideas, or even just one idea of how, like, as a community, we can kind of move forward and support each other as a province, I guess, within the arts?
Yeah, well, I mean, so you mentioned Longyearbyen. I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but they're going to be coming out to the West Coast at the end of this month.
I'm playing that show, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's Bus People?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. Is that announced yet?
No.
Oh,
but,
dang.
You know, now it is. That's okay.
No one's going to watch this far anyway. It's like they're going to scroll through, doom scroll Facebook.
We'll
you know
just
what I mean?
put
It's the
like
first few seconds.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we'll just put like an audio overdub from the movie Taxi or something over this part of the interview. No, I think it's fine to it's been confirmed.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's pretty soon, so I kind of want it.
I would think they would
announce
soon. Yeah.
For sure. So that's. But yeah, no, we're doing a show with a band called Swimming.
Yeah, right
in
on.
Halifax.
Yeah, and White Rhino are going to be there too
Oh,
at
cool.
one of the shows, I think.
Nice.
I was talking to Chrissy a bit about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Longyearbyen is a arts organization based out of St. John's, but Chrissy is from, I'd love to interview her at some point too, but she's from Corner Brook, and she's working really
I
hard
didn't
to
know
sort
that.
of, yeah,
Right
the
on.
Dicks, yeah, like,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. I was
Chrissy
just like,
Dix.
I think that, yeah, Chrissy Dix, yeah, last name.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite people, such a sweetheart, but she's doing a lot of work to sort of bridge the cultural worlds in that way. Yeah, what do you think the...
I mean, I love those sorts of connections. I've been sort of chatting with Longyearbyen and chatting with the Folk Festival about helping to sort of bring stuff back and forth between the two cities. I think that's great. I would love for more bands and artists from St. John's to come out here.
Totally.
I would love for our artists to be going to the city more and for everybody to be supporting. I think it's, you know, it's like anything. It's about showing up for folks when they get here. And I think that's on all of us. You know, if we've got bands from St. John's or artists from St. John's coming in, we got to come out and support them, and hopefully that'll be reciprocated.
Totally.
When our folks are
give them a
in
good
town.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think it's sort of an openness to maybe like branching out past all the art we're already aware of and we already know. So just sort of before we go here today, you mentioned there's some shows happening here. So just to clarify, it's Kim Harris.
Yep.
Hillsburn.
And
Rube Rake.
Yeah.
And they're happening at the RAC.
All in March. Yeah, the first, second, and third weeks of March.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so anybody who's interested in checking out those shows, I guess there's tickets online. They're all wonderful acts. I saw Kim most recently at Longyearbyen. I haven't seen Rube Rake for a while, but I mean
They're
great.
excellent.
Yeah,
they're doing a live stream this is coming out Monday, so it doesn't really matter. But they're doing a live stream on Sunday that we'll be promoting too,
cool.
to sort of give a little preview of
sort of the
what they're
vibe.
going to do here. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, if anyone's interested, check in on those tickets and dates happening in March. Should be great. I'll definitely be at least 2 of those shows if there's still tickets left, because I'd love to see
I think we could just put you on the door.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. I'm getting that in writing. Thank you so much.
It's on video.
Yeah,
even
I
better.
don't need it in writing if it's on video. Oh my god, this is the most meta interview to date. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Brad and Noah and the RAC. Thanks, Nigel Jenkins, everyone. Have a great day, and yeah.
Bye.
See you soon.